fellow heathens, it's Liz, and I'm back with my new deck. Now I have changed the name. The last video that I put out about this was called Tarot of Adorning Grace because I have adorned images with additional Rider-Waite-Smith symbolism. However, I have since changed the name to Tarot of Enduring Grace, and there's a reason for that. Because as I'm compiling this project together, I started to think about a potential oracle to accompany it. So I think that Enduring Grace would be better suited so that I can call it Tarot of Enduring Grace and Oracle of Enduring Grace. So this is the tin that I made, and I'm going to read it to you. I'm not sure if I'm going to include tins as an add-on, because I kind of want a standard sturdy box for this deck as well, and perhaps this might be something that we could add to the Kickstarter campaign as well. So I'm going to read the back to you. Journey back to a time centuries ago where grace and beauty meet color and canvas. Artists from this tarot collection dedicated themselves to creating pieces that were evocative and moving in their own right, unbound by the artistic expectations of their time. The images found in this 90-card deck have been adorned with additional symbolism that further enhances their meaning in correspondence with the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot system. Tarot readers from novice to expert will find nuances of light and shadow hidden within each card as intuition guides the way. May this light burn clear and bright for all those dedicated to following the path of self-awareness and acceptance. Now, I'm going to flip through this deck, and I'm going to put on some music, and then I'll also come out with another video explaining some of the cards in additional detail. But for now, I just wanted to leave you with the changes that I have made up to this point. There are a few minor changes that I am going to be making from this point on, and some of the alignment issues that I'm seeing in this one I need to go back and tweak, and maybe some coloration and some things here and there, but nothing major. This is pretty much the finished artwork. I'm still working on the backs. Now I want to show you the backs from the last one. Here are the backs. Oops, nope, that's not it. Here are the backs from the first video. This is unadorned and this is adorned. Now I want to compare the backs that are non-reversible, which are these, with the backs that I made that are reversible. Which one do you like better? Now the coloration here is a little bit different, so don't mind that. This is a little bit darker, as I had mentioned, but I'm not sure if I'm feeling the split here, and you tell me which one you like best. If reversible backs are important to you, I'd love to know that, and just let me know. So let's get started with the flip through. Okay, so here we are with the decks with the Rider-Waite-Smith Centennial Edition in the middle. So I can go through this quickly and talk a little bit about the symbolism you'll see. I will talk a little bit about the original story, if there is one that the artist intended in the guidebook, but I'm not going to talk too much about that here. Just pretty much how it pertains to the RWS symbolism. Now I have this in a linen cardstock, which I'm pretty set on. I'm still looking at printers, and I still have a couple tweaks here and there, minor things, but so I'm still in the process of doing that. So I don't have a Kickstarter campaign date yet, but I will keep you posted on that. So as you can see, here's the Fool, and the Fool in the Rider-Waite is holding a rose with his little companion here, his guide, his conscience, and a symbol of innocence as well. Here's our Magician with all the tools, and as you can see, the tools are here. There's alchemy happening with the steam coming off. Not quite yet touching the pentacle, so manifestation hasn't happened. This is just the beginning of using the tools around the Magician. Here we have the High Priestess holding a pomegranate. As you can see, there are pomegranates there with the moon and the scroll in the lap, as well as the moon and the stars combining heaven and earth. Our Empress here with her Shield of Venus. And I added a touch additional flowers to match the flowers there as well. Here's our Emperor with the stream behind. I always like that about the Emperor. There is no stream here, and I've also added 2 eagles to symbolize the ways in which one could go, the paths which one can take when, hardening the personality, creating that world view and developing opinions about the world, who you become, remembering to have that soft spot, remembering to hearken back to the Empress with the wild creation and abundance that's possible. Don't get hardened too much. So these are the ways in which the Emperor could go. Of course, these messages are going to be described in more detail in the guidebook. Here's our Hierophant with the keys and the pillars here that harken back to the institution of all group ideologies, all religions and political groups and things like that. So you have the keys to make things happen, and the Hierophant is connected to the spiritual realm, but there is that institution behind him at all times that might help or hinder his ability to make use of those keys. Here we have the Lovers, and I have an apple and the snake here in the background, coming back to the apple and the snake of the original Lovers here. The Chariot, black and white Sphinx, black and white horse. The good and bad, the illuminated and the darkened parts of the self. Here we have our Strength. Here we have the Hermit. I have lit his lamp, as well as added some sacred text, as well as a symbol of the Unalome, which is a sacred symbol in Hinduism and Buddhism, which talks about the swirl on the bottom being the fledgling consciousness. Oh, sorry if you couldn't see that. The swirl on the bottom being the sacred conscious, or the fledgling consciousness, and then the trials and tribulations of life going up, and it describes the path toward enlightenment, which you don't see on the original Hermit. Here we have the Wheel of Fortune, and we have a space here on this card that I have filled with the wheel, and Lady Fortuna adding money that's also coming out of the bag, so the ups and downs of life. Here we have Justice. Justice, I have added the sword, as well as the sword in the mirror reflection, and I have added her weighing a feather and the scale as well. Here's the Hanged Man, and the only thing on this one that I added is the knife, that if he so chooses to break his binds, he can find a way, find a new perspective to do that. And I also wanted this hanged one as well, because I wanted the two aspects of the Hanged Man to be present, the being put to a moment of reflection unwillingly and willingly. So here you have the illumination around her head. It's such a beautiful photo, and how she's just sitting there, at ease and contemplating. I wanted that as well to be the Hanged Man, or the Hanged One. Here we have Death, and you'll see that I have added a halo behind Death's head, so that as to depict the same new day, the dawn of a new day in the original Death card. Here we have Temperance, and we have the mixing of opposites. We also have the sun coming up here. As you can see, it's starting to happen in the background. Silver and gold, and where they meet is where Andromeda will find a solution to her problem. The Devil. Now here we have a siren. With one hand she's playing the song that attracts our poor hero here, and then we also have chains. So in one hand she plays the song, and the other hand she holds the chains that will bind him. Here we have the Tower. We have I added the lightning to this Tower of Babel. This is not from the pre-Raphaelite era. There are a few photos in here from the 1500s and 1600s as well. But the majority of the deck is from the pre-Raphaelite time period. Here in the star, I have added a dove for hope and the guiding light in the star in the sky. Here for the moon, we have our guide here who lights the way, but precariously. You can see that it's hanging off her thumb. How long will she be able to hold that up and light our way in the darkness before it falls and we're cast into darkness once again? Here we have Flaming June with the sunflower by her ear. Judgment. In the light of awareness, there is no escape. There is no lying to oneself anymore. Everything is laid bare. And so you can either accept it or deny it, but it cannot be turned away. You can't turn away from it. And I have two world cards. I love this one because she holds all the elements, and it's a sharing of resources. So from the Magician, you have the resources that are still being played with, getting to know. But here, the elements are fully in one's grasp and shared equally among all. And here we have another world card where you'll see her flower in her hair has bloomed, and it symbolizes like the end of a cycle and a completion, as well as this wreath. But you can see the difference here from the rose, this bright white that matches her cloak, being a tight, newly budded flower, whereas here it's much more mature and open. And here we have an extra card, the Witness. So this card is about witnessing the movement of the mind. So the bird represents the mind, and the elements represent what the mind is thinking about, and being able to identify what it is that, separating oneself from the thought, because you are the witness of your thoughts, not the actual thought itself. And our Ace of Cups, overflowing. Two of Cups. I wanted a little bit of a distance between the individuals, or a less intimate pose than the lovers, which I think I was able to find. And here you'll see the two cups. And here's an additional Two of Cups with our beautiful ladies here. They have gold cups. And look at that sunset in the background. It's beautiful. Here in the Three of Cups, we have these women sharing of themselves. So you'll see that the water is colored similar to their cloak or their dresses. So I probably will make this a little bit darker to match her dress, but you can see that each woman is adding to the bigger vessel here, adding a part of herself to the whole, to share and be vulnerable as a group. This woman in green hasn't yet done so, so it asks you to consider, will you share? Will you be vulnerable? Will you commit to the friendships that you've made? Our Four of Cups. Of course, you have the Three Cups here, and they're a little bit duller here, where you see this one in the background. If she were to look at it, she'd see that it's gold and gleaming, and her eyes kind of tell you where she's at emotionally, and so do the lily pads of stillness. And in our Five, we have 3 cups overturned and 2 cups remaining standing. Which ones will she focus on? Right now she's focusing on what she's lost as opposed to what she currently has. Our 6 of Cups, nostalgia, looking back at childhood. Now I have darkened this a little bit because I felt that this was a little bit too bold in its coloration, and I wanted to almost make it like a photograph. Of course, that would be black and white, but I didn't want to go that far. Memory isn't always as accurate as we would like to believe it is. So I wanted to create a little bit of distance between childhood and memory and what you actually are experiencing, what you actually think happened. Did it really happen that way? Are you coloring it in ways that are a little bit more negative or a little bit more positive, like looking through rose-colored glasses? It kind of asks you to question that element of nostalgia. Now you can see they're having a little tea party, and the 2 cups are for the fish because they're invited too. And our 7 of Cups, you have 6 cups on the ledge in the window, all different, but the one she has in front of her is her go-to, her status quo cup. Will she decide to continue on doing the same thing that she's done, or will she get lost in illusion and choice? Here we have the 8 of Cups and leaving the situation behind, leaving the current emotional state behind. Now she's taking a cup with her, so that it indicates that it's not an abandonment, it's a leaving for something better, achieving and searching for the greater good, the highest good that you have in your life. Here we have our 9 of Cups, and we have a father and son toasting to the house that they have to leave. And it kind of is a bittersweet moment because they still remember all the good times. These 2 cups on the table kind of represent the good times that they'll always carry with them, and you'll see the cups on the mantle as well, to remember what you have and be grateful for that. And the 10, we have our rainbow here, and we have a rainbow in the cups as well. And she's reserving a cup for herself so that she can fill her cup and have enough to give to others. And we also have the 2 cups here that indicate union and togetherness. Here's our Page of Cups. And of course, in our traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, we have our Page of Cups with the fish coming out of the cup. What more is there to be said? Knight of Cups. We have here the fish on the knight himself, and I wanted to kind of make the pages about just the beginning of the understanding of that suit, the playing with that element, and then in the knights it becomes embodied. So you can see it's almost like fish scales here, like fish tail, and here's another scale. So it's like it's already in the image itself. It was very apt for that because it's becoming a part of him. His connection to his emotions are already becoming a part of him. And you can see that the flowers here that I've added represent the romantic side of the Knight of Cups, and I also gave them a cup to match the rest of the cups. Our Queen of Cups. Here we have an open and abundant queen. She has her crown. Here is either a dolphin or a mermaid's tail, whichever one you like, to emphasize the playful aspect of the Queen of Cups. But there's also a hidden aspect to all of the queens. So her cup is there and she can share it if she wants to, but I liked the idea of keeping something behind for the queens, that they don't have to overgive and, give so much of themselves that they deplete themselves. So I wanted to retain that kind of understanding of the sovereignty of the queen. Here's our King of Cups. Now I have a female and a male king. I gave her one of the chalices that I have in the suit, and it's large, and she's totally fully in control. She can share it because she has such a great connection to her emotions and her ability to share that with others. But you can see the look in her eye. She's been there, she's done that. She's a seasoned pro at in her emotional world. And here we have the male King of Cups, and he's got his artist palette here, and William Holman Hunt is the self-portrait. Here's our ace. I gave her some extra dangling grapes to indicate that fullness and abundance and the potential here. Here we have our 2 with the infinity lemniscate, and here you'll see that here. But I also wanted to keep the pentacles. I wanted to make it important where the birds were facing, so they're facing center. So in order to keep that balance, one must always be grounded and centered. Here we have our work card, and we have the individual or individuals that are looking on, mentoring our apprentice here. And as I mentioned in the last video, the 3 here, so there's 2 facing forward and 1 facing back. So when you're learning, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And it's becoming ingrained into the wall, so you're learning how to do it and do it well. Here we have our 4, and you'll see a similar configuration of the pentacles here at the head and at the torso and at the feet. And we have our ivy here to indicate stagnation if one stays too long. Here we have in the 5, 2 outcast individuals from society, and that's the same thing you'll see here. She's in black while everyone else is in full color at the market doing their thing, and her vase her jug is broken. And here you have the only one in the suit where the pentacles lay flat. And I've also created a vignette around the image so that it feels as though the world is closing in. Will she ask for help from these people who are looking on? Here we have in the 6 a give and take. There's definitely a power factor here with the scales, and I wanted to emphasize that with the scales here that are currently empty. So when we give to others, are we keeping score? And if we're taking too often, that will also create an imbalance as well. So it's important to remember that give and take, and understanding the intentions behind giving as well. And I kind of created these pentacles to kind of symbolize there's like flour on them to indicate the loaves of bread and the resources that we have to give. Here we have our 7, and our woman here is collecting her bounty, or she's about to plant it because they're still green. Did she harvest too soon? Is she still, deciding what to do with what she has? How is she going to carry it somewhere and make use of it? So there's a lot you can do with this card to harken back to the original 7 of Pentacles. Here we have our 8 and our work card. This is the mastery here, and you can see they're all facing forward and they're all in line in perfection. And that's what we're after in the 8 of Pentacles. So here in the 9, we have our bird, we have our grapes and our abundance here, and the elements here are separated into 5 and 4. So you have that stability here in the 9 where you can take a step back and really enjoy what you have. But the 5 indicates that there's something left to do, that something isn't quite complete yet. So there's more work to be done here as well to reach the 10 and beyond. But I love that the purple, like pentacles, kind of symbolize grapes or plums or the abundance of life. There's a lot going on in this 10. You see that the pentacles kind of on top of the image here in the old Rider-Waite-Smith in the Tree of Life pose, but in here you have kind of an arrow shape where these individuals are creating their legacy and they're building their empire. So she's holding on to one pentacle, so it kind of could indicate that one individual has more control over the finances than another. But as you can see, the birds are facing both directions to remind you to share your resources and ask advice and do that back and forth so that you can not let it control you. And the pentacles are tucked gently into their hair to indicate that their finances and their legacy is always in their mind, and it's passing on to the next generation as it's tucked in her arm here. And this one is glowing because it indicates the long-lasting effects of building a legacy for yourself and your family. In the page, we have newness budding here. So here the pentacle is tucked back, looking at the butterfly and learning, and will eventually take flight from here. So you have that fledgling aspect of the page here. And the knight, you see that the knight is at a full stop and is willing to do the work and what it takes to achieve the goal. So this is the only knight that's seated, and you can see this pentacle is nicely tucked here to indicate that this knight has taken the element into himself, and you can see the growth happening here, so that that's becoming part of him. And I have 2 queens. I have kind of the opulent queen and the Mother Earth queen. So this one's the opulent queen. And I also wanted to mention that I have like a directionality going on. So these queens are facing to the left, and then the kings will face to the right, depending on the suit. But no matter which one you do, they'll be facing or not facing each other. So here we have the same growth that was happening with the knight, but now it's become, she's made a creative use out of it, but there's still a little bit hidden here. She likes what she has created, and I also gave her a crown here. She likes what she has created, and she kind of wants to surround herself with that. And here you have more of the Mother Earth element of the Queen of Pentacles, so you can decide which one you like better. Here's our king, and our king is holding a pentacle here, facing right. And here's our king, our male king. Ace of Swords. I replaced the sword here on the left with this gleaming sword here on the right to indicate clarity and awareness. Here's our 2. I absolutely love the purple here. You can see that these 2 cherubs are holding 2 different swords. This one's mouth is covered, and this one is like licking her ear just about. So this one is kind of like the impulse reaction, and here this one is covering the mouth and inviting her to consider what she feels in her heart. Here's our 3. So instead of shoving 3 swords into a heart, I put them into a chest. You can take that pun or no pun, however you like, but there are travel stamps here. So the traveling is impeded, moving on in one's life. The plans that you had have been stopped temporarily, but once you remove the swords and fix the holes, then you can move on in your life. Here we have our 4 of Swords and just a quiet respite, a rest. And the swords, just like here, are on the wall. I also have like a path of stones here and a circle of stones here. So she has a choice whether to stay and go around and around and around, stay where she is, or at some point get up and take the steps forward she needs to move on with her day. Here in the 5, we kind of have a flip here. Here's our victor who's pretty smug in his winning. But here, this is actually, I did some research. This is the persecution of Protestants. And this is actually her lover disguised as a monk come to help her escape. So he's saying, shh, you know, so that she doesn't scream. But this here is the bad guy, and he was the one trying to keep her captive. And so now what you have here are the underdogs here who actually are going to win and save the day. Our 6 of Swords, we have the Lady of Shalott, and you can still see Sir Lancelot through the swords. So this basically is about wherever you go, there you are. Are you going to take the baggage with you, or are you going to leave it behind? And there's obstacles and challenges along the way. Here we have the 7 of Swords, which is a deception card, but we don't understand why this person is doing what they're doing. You can see in her like side eye right there that she knows that what she's doing isn't quite ethical or moral, but it might be something that she has to do. So she's taking these swords and leaving these 2 behind. And here we have our 8 of Swords being trapped by influences that may or may not be real. So you can see they have like a ghostly appearance. So that kind of indicates their permeability. But this one, as she stares at it, she realizes she can either make them all concrete with believing in them, or she can take this sword and use it to cut her binds. So you can see that she's got a chain around her waist here. Here in the 9, we have our Nightmare card. And as you can see, she's just realized that she's lost her love and her nightmare has come true. However, this one is one of 2 that I'll show you, because some of the fears that we have are real and some of them are self-imposed, and it's important to be able to differentiate between the 2. So that's kind of why I really wanted this messaging here. But for those who don't like that kind of gore, if you want to call it that, I've created the swords here to more depict the lineup of the swords here in the 9. Here we have our 10 of Swords, we have Ophelia, and I have darkened it just a little bit so that it's not as bright, but I have lightened it from the last video as a commenter wanted to see. So the color in her face is a little bit paler, but there's still color here, and there's still possibilities here. There's the growth of the 3 and the moving on of the 4. So we can see that all is not lost. And here we have our Page of Swords, just beginning the journey with the mind, reading, and she's holding her little sword here, or letter opener. We don't know how she plans on using it, but she's lost in thought. And you can see I've added a butterfly here, because butterflies are big in the Rider-Waite-Smith symbolism as well. And in the Knight of Swords, you'll see that there are butterflies on the horse itself. And that's so I have done here in this one. You can see the butterflies are here, but not here. I've also added this sword, so he has a sword in his hand and on his hip as well. So he's really going for it. He's thinking of all contingencies and plan for that. Here's our queen. Here we have the butterflies of her crown, but we have a butterfly here sitting on the throne. She's not worried if the butterfly is going to stay or go. She trusts in it, and she trusts that her intellect will come to her aid. And here's that hidden aspect of the queen. She doesn't need to flaunt it around, but it's there if she needs it. And I've added that to create a little bit more of that hidden element. Here we have our king. And now the bird and the animal of flight has been given to another, and you can see I've changed the sword here as well. So the king is about using what you learn to give to others. Mastery. Oops. And I also have the male king here, and you can see the the wings here on the hilt of the sword, and it's the sharpest of all the swords in the suit. This is also one from the 1500s. Oops, here's our ace, and I've changed the wand in her hand and given it some fire because fire is a big part of this suit for me. Here's our 2, and you can see that one is hooked up to the castle and one is free. And here you can see that one is behind the wall and one is laying on the wall, getting some sun, ready to move on to the next adventure as she plans for the next step. So here's the 3, and I mentioned this in the last video. We have our 3 quills here that match her, that she has put the quills down and she knows that now it's time to sit back and let the universe do its job. The ships are out at sea. And here in the 4, you see a very similar element here with the 4 wands and the castle behind the individuals and the garland for celebration. And you see here I've added a woman here with the 4 wands, and we also have the sunflower that goes back to the sun card. And we have our garland, and she's just taking a moment to in quiet celebration with herself before she crosses the creek and joins her friend for the celebration. Here in our 5, we have our conflict. Right now it's just verbal. This is a pretty rough conflict, and this was a really hard card to find. But we have the Furies chasing Orestes away because he avenged his father. And here she's holding a wand that's lit, and you can see it's kind of lit there as well, but this was our wand. And she's holding one, but he has 3. So will he escape? Will he defend himself? That has yet to be seen. Here's our 6, and we have our hero coming back, and everyone is in support of him, but in the background you can see that the flames are getting a little bit dimmer, which means that the support of the people may not last forever. Is he willing to hold up that burden of keeping the support and continuing to keep everyone happy, if that's what he's after? So in the 7, you see a very similar configuration of the wands here coming up from below, and here they are down here, but here we have Cain and Abel, and he is holding the wand, and he's not doing too well. So our hero here is beating him back, but of course you have the original story that you can read into if you so choose, but he's holding the wand, and he will prevail. So in the 7, I also have an alternate here where she is sending her love off to war, and what she's tying to his arm, you don't see it in this one, but it's a laurel wreath, it's an olive branch, and it's a rose. So she hopes that it will serve as a reminder to him to wherever he goes to sow peace and love. But also there's a wand here that's left behind so that he remembers what he's going out there fighting for in the first place. And our 8. Pretty self-explanatory. The wands are coming in. There's a lot of movement happening, messages coming in and out. And our 9. Now, our guy here, poor dude, he's got a bandage around his head, so he's kind of battle worn, battle weary, and that's what's indicated here with this shield, that she's been through the battles, but the flame is still lit, and she has another fight in her if she needs to defend what's rightfully hers. And here's the 10. He is blinded by having to carry so much, and she has all her sticks on her back, but she also has the one that's most important to her. Will she let that cloud her vision, or will she use the compass to guide her way? Here's our Page of Wands. Now you can see in her eyes that she's got her eyes locked on something. So the flame has been lit for this page, but she has to be careful or else it will burn her. Here's our Knight of Wands. Now, the Knight, is about going out there with energy and vigor. And you see our Knight here, he's been pulled in to a rapturous situation. And he's holding a branch that is the same color as the forest around him. So that indicates that he's becoming what it is that he wants. His surroundings and him have become merged. However, there's the potential that if he's not careful, he could burn the whole place down. Here's our Queen. We have that element of creative use of the element. You have her crown, but there's also that hidden element here. What is she hiding? What is she holding on to that she will use for good or bad purposes? You can see here, there's like a letter that she's holding in her hand. What could it be? What could it mean? What is she holding back? And what does she want to share? And our King, I have 3 kings for this suit. We have our Hygeia, and this was from 1615. The woman feeding the snake is Hygeia, Greek and Roman goddess of health, cleanliness, and hygiene. So you can see how apt she is, how masterful she is at balancing her element in her hand. And we have our King. He is also from the 1500s, 1525 to 1530. It's not quite known, but I have also given him this emblem on his hat here with the 3 wands, which indicate the crossing or the mastery of mind, body, and spirit. And he doesn't need to have his wand lit because it's held so close to his heart that he knows what he has and he can use it and light it at his discretion. He doesn't have to boast or be vain about it. And our last king, King Solomon, I've given him a flaming wand. So there you have it. Let me know what you think. Is this a deck that you think you might like to use? Do you like the adorned version or the unadorned version better? Any thoughts would be appreciated. Please share, like this video, so that when I do put out the Kickstarter campaign, we can get, this will be, I'm not sure if this will be an add-on or a possible stretch goal, but let's share this video so that we can get people on board with this project, a Tarot of Enduring Grace. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye. As always, thanks for watching, and if you found value in this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more tarot-related content like this. Ring that bell to be notified whenever I upload new stuff, and don't forget to listen closely to the whispers of the heathen within that already has the answer and knows the path that's right for you. Until next time, be brave, be bold, be you.